The Wingman is without a doubt the best gun in Apex Legends. However, it's one of the harder weapons to perfect. Let's talk about what you can do to perfect it, what bad habits you might need to drop, and why you might be using the Wingman wrong. First, let me explain why the Wingman is so great. Okay, so firstly, the Wingman is very accurate, even in hipfire mode. This gives you some unique opportunities to be very agile with this weapon. It also does 45 body damage and 90 head damage, or even more with the Skull Piercer attachment. This means you can fully down a fully armoured player in 5 shots or less. The Wingman can also be spam fired with virtually no loss to accuracy. So with practice it can compete with the top weapons in time to kill. Also, with an extended mag, the Wingman can have up to 12 shots per reload. That's enough to kill 2 players and still have enough shots left over for some misses. Okay, so now let's look at 4 skills you need to practice to master the Wingman. After, I'll offer some quick fire tips on what you need to do to stop using the Wingman wrong. So the 4 skills are movement, hipfire aiming, distance positioning, and kill securing. I'll explain about each of these as we go. We'll start with hipfire aiming because it's very straightforward. The first Wingman shot is always deadly accurate, no matter what, even at really long ranges. There is bullet drop though. After, the next shot's accuracy is a little less accurate, but if you're within 50 meters, it's fine, and even at 100 meters it's still fairly easy to get body shots. Pacing your shots will allow the first shot accuracy to reset. Obviously, at longer ranges it makes more sense to aim down sight, but when it gets closer you should hip fire, because it gives you much better movement potential. Speaking of which, movement is undoubtedly the most important skill you must master. It doesn't matter if your aim is terrible. If you can make yourself harder to hit than it is for you to hit the enemy, you can work on your aim later. Because you can hip fire, you are able to move faster, jump, slide, dodge, and be an absolute pain to hit. There are a number of movement mechanics you can use to put the Wingman to use, and you should get into the habit of using them now, so it's not harder to learn them later on. First one, strafing. This is quite easy, just strafe left and right as you fire. Because there's no penalty to moving whilst firing with the Wingman, you can move as much as you want, and fire as much as you want. There's no need to stop firing to move. In fact, you don't even need to stop firing when moving forward. You will briefly lose momentum for a second, but after you will continue to run. Strafing is pretty straightforward, but there's 2 tips to consider. 1, don't spam left and right like crazy. Jiggling on the spot isn't going to help much because at least part of your hitbox will still be in the other player's crosshair, so try to do longer strafes. Strafing is going to help a little, but it's still leaving you pretty vulnerable. Even if you mix up your presses a little, the player will eventually get you, but it gives you enough time to hopefully knock them down first. Tip 2 for strafing is to always try to strafe in and out of cover, and not out in the open. The next movement tip is to use cover creatively whilst tracking them through the cover. So you can strafe peek, you can jump peek, you can crouch peek, and you can run behind cover, slide, then peek from a new angle. The whole idea is that you are constantly coming out from new locations to keep your enemy guessing, making it hard for them to track you. Meanwhile, you are tracking their estimated location through the wall. If they are constantly holding the same angle, this is easy. This allows you to ensure your crosshair is as close as possible to them when you next peek. Next, if you are pushing a player, holster your weapon to run faster, or use B-hop to get there quicker. Then, as you approach, slide and jump toward them to make yourself difficult to hit. If they peek you, it's easy enough to pull out your weapon and fire at them. One quick tip on movement, the first shot accuracy even works in mid-air, so you can even pull off stuff like this. Okay, so next, distance positioning. This one is important for many reasons, and it sort of comes in as a subcategory to movement. When you push close to an enemy, pay attention to the weapon they are using, and if you don't know, always assume they have a shotgun. Once you know, you need to constantly stay at an effective distance. The Wingman is effective at all ranges, other weapons aren't, so if a player is using a Peacekeeper, stay 10 to 20 meters away from them. If they run toward you, step backward as you fire to keep that distance. I think in most cases that 10 to 20 meter range is where the wingman is best. It's harder for players to hit all shots on full auto weapons, and it balances out well against snipers and DMRs. I see so many players pushing people with shotguns when they use the wingman. Keep that effective distance and don't push close if you know they have a shotgun. Obviously, this is situational. If, say, you get a player low and you have 200 HP, pushing a player with a shotgun can be done without much risk. Okay, finally, kill securing. There will be times where you deal 130 to 180 damage on a player and they are so low, but then they run off to heal or you run out of ammo. Usually the first thing to do is immediately switch to a full auto weapon to try to finish them off. It's usually easier to fire a damaged running target this way because only 1 or 2 shots may be needed. If you still don't down them, run after them and throw grenades at their estimated location. If they're behind a rock, this is easy. If behind a smoke, it's a little trickier. If it's Bangalore, it may actually be worth holding off on shooting until you're closer. That way you can easily catch up to them and guarantee the kill. As always, be aware of the locations of the enemy team and your team. Pushing to finish off players is important, but don't get yourself killed. So that's basically it. That's how to use the wingman effectively. Here's a quick summary. Learn to hip fire with the wingman. Use the movement tips I suggest whilst hip firing to make it harder for players to hit you. Make sure you are always thinking about distance positioning. Don't push a peacekeeper, for example, and secure kills with a secondary weapon or grenades when a player is extremely damaged. Now onto some bad habits you must drop when using the wingman in Apex Legends. Okay, so number 1, spam firing too fast. I've talked about this before. Sometimes just pacing your shots can be much more effective at landing hits. Not only does it give you more time to ensure your aim is on target, but it also gives time for the accuracy to reset. At closer distances, this isn't so important. At further distances, it is. Number 2, not firing quick enough. Contrary to the tip above, learning to fire quick is important too. That's one reason why the wingman is so good. The overall thing to keep in mind is the closer a player is to you, the more spammy you can be. Up close, fire as fast as possible. Far away, be slow. Number 3, not holstering enough. This can be hard to master and a scary thought in the first place, but the run velocity with a weapon equipped is 260. The run velocity without a weapon equipped is 299. It seems small, but this extra velocity allows you to go into faster slides, bigger jumps, and generally move faster left to right. If you need to evade or get behind cover, holster first, re-equip, then peek after. Number 4, jumping. Jumping is good, but only when you have enough velocity to do it. If you're just jumping as you strafe left to right whilst your wingman is equipped, you lose momentum and you become quite an easy target to hit. Instead of jumping, try to crouch instead. If you do want to jump, build some run speed up first. Also, there is jump fatigue in Apex Legends. If you keep jumping, the following jumps will have less height to them, so whatever you do, don't spam jump. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for watching my guide on how to use the wingman in Apex Legends. I hope you have found this useful. I'll leave you with one question. Do you prefer the wingman with something like a Peacekeeper or R99, or do you prefer to go with a longer range choice like the R301 or Hemlock? Let me know what you think. Alright, see you in the comments. Cheerio!